All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here, and it's been a while since I've done a live tarot card reading, although that's a term that's mostly used today, except for cartomancy readings go all the way back to the 11th century, where they have been recorded through European traditions. So, why don't we begin? The first card is the Eight of Grails. The Eight of Grails in shadow aspect feels like your life is shackled. It's like you got the lack of energy, that motivation. Think of it more as the serpent. When we think of a serpent, like say a constrictor, it's like it's coiled around you and just squeezing. This is normally associated with the waxing moon, namely because of the fact that the waxing moon is the death card, really. It's basically putting things that have been weighing on you in the past, and it's time to deal with those situations. In this case, the Grails is the cup of life, if you think about it in such a term. Each level has a specific degree of understanding. The Eight of Grails symbolizes the mentality of emotional, physical attributes. Think of it as depression. Think of it as financial loss. Perhaps some kind of torment that deals around negativity. Anything negative that is associated with what you're going through. This card represents that in a physical form. Okay? Maybe you're feeling your age and you're feeling that illness. Perhaps the aches and pains of life just weighing you down. That is what this card represents. But what's interesting here is it also can associate yourself with relationships. Perhaps it's your girlfriend, husband, boyfriend, wife, whatever. The family setting. Because the lovers represent a lot of different aspects, not just physical relationships. It also entails business. It deals with just about every type of relationship you can think about. If you're working towards a contract, perhaps a business deal, this is something that you really want to tie in. Maybe you've had bad business deals in the past and there's something lagging there, something that's holding you back like an anchor. The Lover's card is not just the applications of a new love or a new passion, a new desire, perhaps something that's exciting and new, because that's what's on the horizon. The last couple of months, we've been in Aquarius. For those of you who do not know what Aquarius is, this is when Venus disappears in January and reappears in February. Time of political upheaval, times of disease, devastation, destruction, loss. That's what Aquarius is about. Okay? Could be a natural disaster even. So when we get out of this area, which we have done since the 19th of February, we're now into 28th. And now we're into what is known as the darker version of the moon cycle. We're getting rid of the past and getting into the future. Okay? The daughter of Scepters is a card that you normally would see surrounding the Lovers. Whereas the Lovers is a major arcana, the Daughter of Scepters is not. It's a minor arcana. The Scepters revolves around magic, mysticism, spirituality. Okay? A lot of things believe in faith, either in an unknown force. Think of it as karma or fate. Okay? It may seem that way. And what's interesting to note is that when you get into the Daughter of Scepters and you start believing that something good's coming your way, bam, you're going to get hit with something you didn't see coming. Perhaps it's a deal of some kind. Maybe it's something to do with, how should I say this? Servitude. With every time, for every leader, there's also a follower. And with every follower, there's a leader. To become a leader, you must first become a follower. Now, you remember what I said about that new business opportunities. Maybe you're going for that new job, trying to make that deal. The Hierophant is just that. And what's interesting to know about the Hierophant is it comes with wisdom, it comes with intelligence, cunning, the complete understanding of when to move and when not. Think of it as to gain something, you have to give up something. In a sense, when we think of the Hierophant, he is the very embodiment of knowledge and wisdom. So therefore, when you're dealing with anything to do with relationships, anything to do with business transactions, anything to do with any form of deal or pact making, doesn't matter if it's spirituality, doesn't matter if it's something to do with the mundane world. Sometimes you have to serve. I'm not saying get down on your hands and knees. No. This isn't a Snow White fairy tale. This is not a Cinderella story. Here, it is about learning from your elders. If you're in a war zone, the best thing you can do, even Sun Tzu said this, Nietzsche said this, a gunnery sergeant out of the Italian army, Macelli, also said this. And what's ironic is that the best thing you can do is learn from your enemy. Learn from your opponent. Learn their tactics. If you're going for a position, the best thing you can do is learn how to do that. In the military, the sergeant trains the corporal. The corporal trains the private first class, and so forth. And this goes from the very top, from the commander-in-chief, all the way down to that itty-bitty foot soldier, that flatfoot, that private. You're always going to train the person above you and the person under you. Now, those of you who have been in a corporation setting, I want you to think about this because, number one, so if you're like me, you probably trained a lot of people and you've been passed over. Probably never even got that gratification, that thank you. Or perhaps they turn around and start dicking you around, okay? Acting like they're better than you. Trust me, this stuff happens in a business setting. So the best thing you can do is let them make their own mistakes, whereas you can capitalize on what you know. So therefore, by putting yourself in the full view of the upper levels, they'll have their eye on you and not those you train. because in their minds, you're going to be the one that's dependable. See, that's that wisdom, that Hierophant moment. And the thing about the Hierophant is that cunningness, to use wisdom to detect obstacles, problems, problem solving, and things that will benefit you, your relationships, or your business transactions. And again, this sets you up for the Prince of Grails. The Prince of Grails is a form of nobility, honor, integrity, respect. Now, if you're on the job, go into your resource room, your break room. 9 times out of 10, either outside of your manager's office or in the break room, you're going to find a set of guidelines right on the wall on how you should present yourself. Okay? Things that you wear, how you present yourself, how you speak, how you dress. You don't want to dress too little or too much, because then you're going to look either like a slob or an overachiever. And trust me, in a corporation setting, that is something that is not a wise choice. But to be seen as somebody in an authoritative position, somebody with responsibility, level-headedness, you really want to take that initiative, clean cut, well dressed, not too well dressed, but well dressed. Do what you do best, your job. If you're a man, your duty is to protect your family, to provide for them, to put them before yourself. You see the point there. But if you're a woman, that's a whole another guideline there, because you got 2 different settings. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. The 7 of Knives, the physical afflictions, the physical attributes, the cunningness. This card represents the applications of Hermiotism. It deals with the devil's IOU. You've heard the term Finkel when it comes to the female gender. But you've also heard hell has no fury like a woman scorned. You see, it's that two-face conception. Within the tree of life, you have the tree of life and the tree of death. In the physical setting, a knife can either save a life or it can take it. The Tetragrammation is a tool of the multiverse. And in this case, you're thinking astrology. You're thinking multidimensional. The moon, controlling of the tides, the nocturnal desires of Lilith, but also that of Satanas, or maybe even Set, Anubis, Supe, Hermes, Hades, Loki even. But you want to be on guard because of this card, because you never know what you're going to get. And it could go your way or it could go the polar opposite. So in this case, I would recommend that you take the guise of a cobra. When it comes to dealing with that nocturnal feminine current, I would highly recommend you take your time and be observant. Use that cunningness of the Hierophant. No matter if it's in your family life. Doesn't matter if it's your business dealings or dealing with friends and family. Okay? Maybe even the community settings, like a church. Just out of example. Because in this case, you never know how quick the tides can turn. Because that female cobra, which is always bigger than the male, could easily kill you with one bite and eat you whole. Strength. In shadow position, it is the lack of strength. The lack of strength and the lack of force. You don't want a force. You don't want to, in this case, you're not applying the pressure that is needed. And that is something in a business sense that you need to understand. When it comes to business, you got to know your rights. You got to know what you're going after and how to open those doors. Sometimes it's a matter of putting that little leverage, utilizing the knowledge, the wisdom to do so. And it means that will open up your vitality. The Three of Scepters. The morning. The dawn. The symbology of the ram. The first of the zodiac. The warrior. The warrior. Cardinal is the bird. Color is red. And what's interesting about this is that when applied with the sun, the dot with the circle, you're also dealing with alchemy. That's the interesting part. The Prince of Scepters, the authoritative figure. In this case, the hearts, spirituality. What you're going for in this case, you're not taking that chance. You're mostly holding back in reserve. And it's things that are preventing you from finding that vitality. It's things that are preventing you from finding that prosperity. When you look at this entire reading as a whole, it tells a story. Your life force is drained. This literally applies to exhaustion, being overworked, trying to fight an uphill battle that's losing. You're losing ground because you're at the low end of the totem pole trying to fight your way to that top. And you're not taking the depiction of lightning and water, where it takes the most least resistant pathwork to achieve victory. In this case, the lightning would move through water faster than it would on land. You deal with anything rubber, it cancels it right out. You have a grounding rod, it'll cancel it out. But yet, if you use that key piece of knowledge, that key piece of weaponry that's in your arsenal, you can literally direct that current anywhere that you need it to be to find that prosperity, that benefit. But at the same time, you want to keep track of what you love. And like I said, some people like to work. Some people like money. Some people like family. They will do anything for that family. Others will do whatever it takes to become rich, to become wealthy. You look at ministers and spiritual people, they will literally follow the path that will bring them benefit. Tibetan monks, they will lock themselves away from humanity. They will go to a specific compound and temple where they can meditate without all the distractions, without all the interferences. They will work on their martial arts training, mastering themselves and their bodies. Whereas ministers and clergy will work further on their spirituality. Just like a doctor will constantly research, find new avenues to help heal their patients, new techniques, new procedures. You see, it's doing what you love doing. It's not just representing a family situation or a business. It's following that career or that path working that makes you happy, not somebody else. And in this case, it revolves around this card, the Eight of Grails. The Eight of Grails clearly represents the lack of vitality, the lack of motivation. And this literally falls into depression. It falls into failures. It falls into so many negative compounds of loss that it's like you're losing your own life. So, how do we go about changing this? The first thing is realizing what you love, finding that right magical tool to guide you, and to set up that plan, to use wisdom and cunning, and so forth, to master yourself, to master your surroundings, and to rise up the ladder to going for what you need and want. No one knows your story better than you. The cards don't lie. People lie to people, but the cards never lie. And don't forget about that two-face, that Finkel temperament that can save your life or take it. When you realize that, then you can set up that plan. You can set up those goals, and you can find your way through that proverbial minefield and find life again. Have a good night.